All right.
Hello.
Hello, folks. We are on my mind with CR tonight. And I was just coming on, thought we'd do an early show before Friday. Tomorrow we have our normal show, which is Days of the USS Nimitz, where I will have Adrian and Dan Zarn on again, and they will talk about what it was like to have Dan deployed in the Navy on the USS Nimitz for 2 years while Karen was at home taking care of their son, me. Today, we're going to shoot off into another little area that I like, one of my hobbies. And we have a special guest tonight. So the show is titled All Aboard. And basically what we are talking about is we're talking about the hobby of model railroading. Now, I do have a special guest with us right now, and that is my friend Kim Remsen. Kim, how are you this afternoon?
Oh, I'm fine. Everything here in the control tower at Furnace Valley is going A-okay.
So it's kind of funny that we talk about this. I never thought I was going to get back into model trains. I kind of dabbled in it when I was a kid, and I saw my grandfather's set, and I think that's usually what everybody's recollection is that grandpa or dad at some point in time had a train set. And I think, yeah, go ahead.
My introduction to train was really cool because my father was really little. He also worked for the railroad before I was born. So when I was younger, I can remember.
Yeah, you seem to be breaking up a little bit there, Kim.
We have I should say three layouts in our base. One my dad, and then I have a smaller engage one, and I have my engage one, which I haven't, dug out. But mostly right now, I'm into doing it in Legos because it's kind of a little bit more. I kind of love it. It's actually fun. It's something different. But and then I also got my first taste of working for the railroad last year when I worked on the new tourist passenger train that just started up in Corinth, the Saratoga, Corinth, and Hudson Railroad. And all the equipment, including the locomotives, is fully restored vintage equipment.
Nice. So that is that's a steam setup, correct? Or are they powering it with diesel fuel?
Nope, they're diesel. These are diesels. One of the diesels was built in 1943 and was originally the locomotive was built in 1943 in New York, and it used to switch the cars around in the Elko yard. And then the other diesel that they have, I can't remember the number of the second diesel, but it was a Delaware and Hudson diesel. It's painted in black and yellow. The number that I can't remember, like I said, I can't remember the number on the other one, but I know the other one, Alpha number 5, is green and yellow, and that's the colors of the Saratoga, Corinth, and Hudson Railroad. And that train runs on the Adirondack branch, which is the branch line that goes from Saratoga to Hawes. And they've been renovating the tracks from Saratoga. They're hoping to go into Saratoga this summer, but the weekend, not this weekend, but the weekend after next, they have the Maple and April Festival in Hadley, Missouri. And they're going to have the first train going back into Hadley since 2013 or 14, I think, or somewhere around there.
Okay.
And so everybody's excited about that. And, they've been, restoring the tracks, restoring the signals, and at some point, like I said, they haven't called me back up there, to work up there. I mean, that's okay because I got a regular part-time job now because this one was just, seasonal. They're hoping at some point to maybe go into Saratoga and then maybe go more into the village of Corinth. But to get into the village of Corinth, they're going to have a lot of work to do because there's a couple crossings there's like 3 crossings that need to be renovated and restored and everything. and there's one street where they took the crossings out, but they know that, they're going back in, obviously, because beyond where the old paper mill was, there's a park there that has a railroad crossing, which, they're hoping maybe, this is going to be like maybe, like far, far, far probably into the future, because of all the work, and restoration on the track that they have to do. Of course, today I saw a picture they made, the owner who my father used to work with when my dad, worked on the Battenkill and up on the Upper Hudson River Railroad. The fellow who he runs he manages the train up there. They made these beautiful reproduction railroad crossing signs, the old diamonds that say railroad crossing, look out for the cars.
Nice.
I don't know if you've ever seen one of those signs, but there's actually one that I know of left that's still standing, and it's over in Shushan, New York, which is about I don't know, maybe like hour away from me, where my uncle lives. And that sign is still standing, and it has been repainted. I think, as far as I know, it has been restored. It's been repainted, and they redid the lettering and everything on it. And the old bell that used to ring on the back of it is still behind it. But of course, that bell doesn't work anymore, obviously.
Right.
But it's kind of, it's kind of neat. So I actually had my dad to thank for getting into, rail fanning and not railroading. And it's just fun, and it's also relaxing. But also in the same aspect, it also unleashes your creativity.
Right.
Because there's no limit to what you can make, and what you can create on a model train layout.
Right.
Like, for example, with Furnace Valley, I came up with a name for the housing development. And so far we've got, two houses? We have two houses on the development there, right?
Yeah, I've got two houses physical so far. And actually, my uncle just got a 3D printer, so he might be able to help us out with some buildings there.
Okay, because I've been looking on eBay at some other houses. I found one that looks almost similar to Martin McFly's house. I found one that's pretty doggone close to looking to it. And of course, let's see. I also found an N-scale house that has a swimming pool.
Oh, cool.
With it, so there's a thought.
Right.
And also too, since the business district is now a little bit bigger, which I think is nice. Woodland Scenic, who I can't recommend enough for buildings and for their landscaping equipment or landscaping products. I can't recommend them enough because their items are high quality. They aren't garbage. They're high quality. And if you're looking for good rolling stock when it comes to N-scale, Atlas and Cato,
right.
and micro trains, I can't stress enough because they're the best of the best, and their stuff is not garbage. I tend to try to stay away from Lifelike and Athearn for the simple reason that their stuff does not last as long. And the other reason is not with Athearn, but with Lifelike. Lifelike has a bad habit of falling apart because I actually had that happen with a couple of cars that I used to have from them when I was doing N-scale. And it was not only not fun, but it was also kind of embarrassing. You're running a train, and then the next thing you know, the wheels fall off the truck, and it's like,
Well, and I've got that with a couple pieces of my rolling stock where I run the Bachman Easy Track, just out of simplicity, and I'm starting out, as you know. And a lot of people, I would tell people, when you're starting out, go as easy as possible and go with the easiest user interface. But, I've got one piece that came with the starter set, and I've got another piece of rolling stock that I bought by my own. I've had wheel sets come off the trucks. So I just got to get back in there and put them in. But, with the visual disability and the N scale, it would be a lot easier if it was like HO or O scale. It'd be easier, but, I can do it. But so, and basically, so let's talk a little bit about, okay, so we've made the decision that, okay, I want to get into trains. So let's talk this out. We want to do it. I think the next step is to survey your house or where you're going to do it and find out a suitable area. Like for me, where I'm sitting, my table is a 3x5. It was an old desk that I repurposed. I was going to do HO or an O, but in looking at that scale, I wouldn't even have enough space for a simple loop. And HO would be really tight.
And for anybody that's going to start out, it's for real little, it's like depending upon the space, I would say, when you have a desk, like you said, like with what, your size is, N is the way to go. And when you're getting a starter set, you want to be really careful about, who you get it from, because you want to make sure, that the rolling stock works, the engines work, and you don't have any issues. Another thing I strongly advise is be careful about buying locomotives on eBay.
Been there, done that. Been there, done that.
Yes, because we had that issue with the Sensei locomotive with the war bonnet colors, and
this guy here.
And we did warn everybody on the group page about that seller. Yeah. And the one thing I can't emphasize enough is if you do get a locomotive from eBay and the person listed on eBay is it's in good working order, blah blah blah. Well, when you get it and that thing doesn't work, you don't have to worry about sending it back because you will get your money back for it. Right. You will get your money back because eBay will make sure of it because there's a lot of scammers on scam sellers on eBay, and I guess you just want to be careful. The other thing too is when you do go shopping for model railroading, one place I cannot recommend enough is MB Klein model trains and more. I can't remember what that may have, but that's where I got that's where you got some of your stuff. I know you said you were very pleased with what was sent.
Oh yeah.
But they have an excellent selection, and their customer service is U.S. based. The shop and the company are out of Maryland, and that guy knows his stuff, and I can't recommend that place enough. And they pretty much have everything, and if they don't have what you're looking for, they will special order it for you.
Well, I don't.
Any model train shop you walk into, if they don't have what you're looking for, there's always a good possibility that they'll be able to order it for you.
Right.
Because 99% of the things you get in the metal train shop comes from the I can't think of the name of that catalog now. Walthers. Because I know. Yeah, Walthers. Yeah, and they've always got. They always have an excellent selection because Walthers mostly carries not only their own products, but they also carry a lot of Atlas. They carry a lot of
MTA
micro trains. They carry a lot of Woodland Scenics.
Yeah.
They carry a lot of the mini, the little figures and everything. Yep. And for little figures, for people like people and workers and everything. One company there's two companies that make the best people figures for train layout as far as I'm concerned. They're both German companies, but their work it's top of the line. It's not it's not garbage. It's Prizer Preiser. That's how you spell it. And then the other one is Noch, spelled Noch. And they've got some great figures. I mean, they've also got some that are, a little on the side, but that's besides the point.
Right.
Of course, when I found out from somebody that they actually made those, I kind of looked at the person like they had two heads, and I'm like, you're nuts. And then finally, when I saw the pictures as proof, I was like, oh, joy.
Right.
But there's no limit to your imagination what you can build on a train layout. It's like I have a friend who's a fellow reenactor.
Mm-hmm.
Because you and I are both reenactors as well, and that's going to be for a few, and that's, I know we're going to be talking about reenacting.
Oh yeah, that'll be a future show that's in the works.
Yeah, but anyways, I have a friend who is a fellow reenactor. He does he does French Canadian War, American Civil War, and World War II. Well, he has an HO scale layout, and he does all diesel from the 1950s and 60s.
Oh, okay.
And when he told me he actually has this on his train layout. He has a quote red light district on his train layout.
Oh, jeez.
And I asked him out of the clear blue, and this got the biggest laugh. I said, please tell me you don't have an adult movie house on that layout. And he said, yep, I do. And I was like, oh my God.
Yeah, so what
I'm like, you. Huh?
Going back to what you were talking about with the Walters catalog, so not only do I have N scale, but I actually have a HO setup, and
yep.
So when I got that, I ended up getting the BNSF train set from.
Ooh, nice choice.
I think that was the Bachmann Rail Chief. I think. Train set. I think that was
and as far as for HO scale trains, I strongly recommend Bachmann, Atlas, and Athearn for HO because that's like the they're like the Cadillac of HO scale.
Yep.
Just like the other companies I mentioned are the Cadillac of of N scale because they stand behind their product, which is amazing.
So I'm looking at our questions here, and Todd, one of my buddies that does reenacting as well, and he also does trains. Mm-hmm. He says reenacting and trains must go together, and I do agree on that.
And that is true. That is very true. And there's a great event that happens in Elgin, Illinois, which I'm telling you, I would give anything to go to it. And I'm hoping not this year because I've had a lot of problems, but I'm hoping maybe next year, fingers crossed, that we can make it out to it because they do World War II Rails to Victory.
Oh yeah, Rails to Victory. Yeah, our friend Rebecca puts that together.
Yes, give her and one of the other guys kind of an idea for a scenario, and they actually kind of like it, but they got to see how they can, write it into it. And if you're familiar with the movie, I can't think of that. Not Back to the Future, but there's another one where the guy falls asleep and when he wakes up, he finds he's in a different time period. So I kind of came up with the idea of something along that lines, and of course, it's a Royal British Army soldier, and just to give a heads up I hope you don't mind me plugging this, but for a future show, I'm going to be discussing the reenacting group I started with our wonderful host here. Mm-hmm. The British soldier wakes up and finds out she's now in the mid-40s and she's not in England anymore. Right. So things kind of get a little, interesting. But there was a place that in Pennsylvania that used to do an event, and they don't. And sadly, last year was their final event.
Right.
I was supposed to go to it one year, but then something, but then I had my surgery, so I didn't end up going. But there's another place down in, it's in Florida, and you went there. You went to the Rail Museum that's down there. They do a World War II event.
Okay.
And I want to look into that because that looks like a heck of a lot of fun. And, and I know the train, the plate, or I worked on this past summer, they were thinking about doing a World War II train this summer, but I guess they aren't going to, I guess, from what he told me, they aren't going to do it, which is kind of disappointing,
right?
But it is what it is. It is what it is. But yes, Jeff, trains and reenacting, they do go together. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. But you are 100% correct because if it wasn't railroads, especially during the Civil War and especially during World War II, the factories and whatnot wouldn't get their, materials to make, munitions and guns and, all that stuff. They
had to come from somewhere.
Railroads have been a big,
Had to come from somewhere. There weren't any semi-trucks, at least in the Civil War.
That's right. And, it's, my father was telling me that a lot of the steel, like a lot of the iron ore that was used to make, the steel for the planes came from the fighter planes during World War II. My father said a lot of the iron ore came from up in Tawas, which is the place I just told you about, where hopefully the new train that's started up is going to hopefully go into at some point, because they want to start running freight up there, which I think would be wonderful, because then they could, start shipping the garment and the iron ore by rail again, because I think that would be, a great boost to the economy and whatnot,
And a lot of it came out of the Mesabi ranges here in Minnesota.
That's right.
What is it? The MNIRR? I think I'm right on that. But they were basically.
I think you're right. There's also, if you like watching videos of old railroad crossing signals, there's a collection. It's like a collection of videos. It's on one. I can't remember. You can find it on YouTube. It's let's see if I remember. Wigwags, Griswolds, and something, and I can't remember what it was, but it's from all over the United States. Like, they've got the old Southern Pacific Griswolds, and then they have the old, or Southern Pacific Wigwags, and then there's the old Griswolds, and I can't remember, there was one other one, but they've got them from all over the place. There's a great one. There's a great video of Griswold. It's in, I can't remember where in Minnesota it is, but it's the Erie Mining Company. And when you see the locomotives that are in the contest, when you see the train going through the crossing, they're all diesels, but they're all classic diesels. Like, there was two, let's see if I remember, there was two, there was a F7A unit, B unit, and then another A unit, and then there was I'm going to say it might have been a U-36, what they call a U-boat.
An old U-boat.
Huh?
An old U-boat, you said.
Yep, it's U-36. It's a type of diesel.
Yep.
They were built by, believe it or not, I can't remember if they were built by GE or if they were built by Alco. I'd have to do their research on that, but
I think the U-boats were GE, if I remember correctly.
I think you might be right. You might be right. I'm taking you out back with me because my dog has to go out. But that video, I couldn't believe it. I'm looking at that video and I was like, oh my God, I can't believe it. I said, that's old school. I said, we're talking old school.
Right.
Drop it.
Yep. So I had mentioned the railroad from up in Mesabi, and Todd mentioned and said that it is the Duluth, Mesabi, and Iron Range.
Yes, that is correct.
The DMIR Railroad. All right, so we've figured out at least where we're gonna put this in our house, right? We've figured out how to do it, where we want it. So I'll tell you how I ended up doing it, because I ended up watching a lot of how-to videos on how other guys did it, because I had no idea. There are some good resources that you can find on YouTube, and I'm sure if you go to your local hobby shop, they'll have an idea on how to do it too. My local hobby shop is Hub Hobby up in Richfield, Minnesota, and I tell you, if you are ever in town and want to go to a great place, there's one in Richfield and there's one up in Cannon Falls, and I'll tell you, everybody there in their departments knows what they're talking about. I was into remote control. I was into a remote control for a while. Those guys know what they're doing. I actually called the railroad guys because I had an issue with one of my HO GPs, and I had bought a sound value ready Bachmann GP for my DCC controller and noticed that I didn't have sound. Well, I called him and he goes, just because they are sound value ready does not mean that they have a sound chip in them. But here's the thing, on the box it says sound value equipped. So usually if it says sound value ready, you don't have the decoder. Yep. If it says sound value equipped, it should have the encoder in it.
But if it says sound value ready, then you don't know if it's going to have the decoder in it or not.
Yep.
So, but in the case of N scale, 99% of the locomotives you get are DCC ready.
Yep.
And putting that in, having the decoder put in, you want to have somebody in the hobby shop do it for you. Don't try to do it yourself. Have somebody in the hobby shop do it for you. Because you don't, trust me, you don't want to mess things up.
I'm telling you, folks. Here's the thing with electronics, folks. The blue smoke can only be put in and taken out of electronics once.
That's right. Now, in the case of if you really want to get technical and you want to put signals in on your layout, the one brand I can't recommend enough for your N scale signals is a company called NJ International. They make some great railroad crossing signals. Mm-hmm. Because at one time I had a set of, I had a set of crossing gates with signals, and then I also had a set of the what they call the cantilever railroad crossing signals. And there's not a lot of places where you see them anymore.
Right.
And I mean, I know they've got them out there where you live because I've seen a couple, videos of them out there. There's only a couple places I know of around, that I'm aware of. Mm-hmm. Like, I know when I went out to Fairport to do rail fanning in 2021, they had a set there.
Because you're up in upstate. You're in upstate New York, right?
Yes, that's correct. I live in upstate New York. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because where Fairport is out in the western part of the state. I live in the eastern part of the state.
Gotcha.
But if you want it, but you know what? There are cantilevers up north, up near Ticonderoga, and then when you cross the border into Montreal, oh my God, they've got them left and right up there.
Right.
And then, of course, when you go into New England, like when you go into Vermont, New Hampshire, Maine, Massachusetts, oh my God, the freight railroad over there loves using the cantilever over the highway signals. They just absolutely love using those.
Right.
And there's several good spots I know of mm-hmm. where I've actually seen them in action. And if I ever get the chance, I'll try to share a couple of YouTube links so you can see what I'm talking about.
Right.
I know, like, there's a lot of rural crossings, that you'll find what it's called the traffic light preemption. In other words, you'll come up to these rural crossings that not only have the regular crossing signals, but they'll also have the traffic lights as well.
Right.
And that's what they call a traffic light preemption. Now, sometimes you will get a traffic light preemption where you have a traffic light, and then there's a little signal underneath it. When the train gets ready to come through, there's two little signals underneath it. It'll light up with a yellow light. Okay, it'll say RXR, like the railroad crossing sign, and underneath it'll say either no right turn or no left turn. Get out of there. Sorry, I'm yelling at my dog. I'm out in the backyard looking after my dog. I apologize, folks. But yeah, it's kind of neat. And then there was I was watching a video of when we had I'm gonna say it was in 2020, when they were working on the Hoosick Tunnel, which goes from Hoosick, Massachusetts or Hoosick, New York. It starts in Hoosick, New York, and it ends in, I can't remember where in Massachusetts it ends, but it was on the Boston and Maine, and they were redoing the tunnel because I guess part of the tunnel had collapsed. Mm-hmm. So when they had rerouted this huge auto rack train, I mean, this was a rail fanner's dream come true, seeing this sucker. I actually went and watched it go by. I went down the forward and watched it go through. It was really neat. It was the Norfolk Southern auto rack, or what they call the auto rack train, what they also call the auto racks and the container trains. They call those intermodals.
Didn't derail, really did it?
Because this train had 5 locomotives pulling it.
Wow.
Because my father told me, the more engines on the train, the heavier and longer it is. Trust me, this auto rack train was really long. And it was kind of good that they did have 5 locomotives, because there's this when the train was going through Ludlow, Vermont, which is just outside of Mount Holly, Vermont. And I know exactly where that is. That's a pretty area. There's some great rail fanning. Trust me, if you've never been to Vermont to go rail fanning, trust me, there's some great spots over there to go rail fanning. Believe me. There's a huge trestle that goes over Vermont State 103. It's like 110 feet up in the air. It's huge. It's a long drop. Believe me. But but when the train was going across this trestle, they were going at the speed of a man's walk because of the length of the train and how heavy it was.
Oh, I suppose.
I
suppose.
Yeah, but the neat thing was when it went through this one crossing there's a couple crossings in Ludlow where it's a protected crossing. It's got the lights and the bells, but it doesn't have any gates. But on the other side, as if you're going into Rutland, there was a crossing. At that crossing, on the other side, the lights on the other side of the crossing, you had one set underneath the crossbuck, like you always see, and then there was a set on the top. Mm-hmm. And I'm saying to myself, why did they do? I'm like, I asked my father. I said, "Why?" I said, "Dad, have you ever seen a crossing like that before?" He said, "No, I've never seen anything like it." And then there was another crossing I saw on the video. It was in Ludlow, and she had the signals underneath the crossbuck, and then there was another set of signals underneath that set of signals, and I was like, "What is up with that?"
Interesting.
So, it's amazing how some of the railroads can configure some of the railroad crossings. It's like I've seen some interesting, like I said, I've seen some interesting, traffic light preemption crossings. I've seen some, interesting, crossings with the signals. But like I said, if I can remember, I will send a link. I'll share the link on the page so you guys can see what I'm talking about with the crossing in Ludlow, but that video of the train getting rerouted, because where the train was going to, it was going to I can't remember where in Massachusetts it was going to, but I know it was just over the border into Massachusetts where it was going to, but if you watch that video, I'm telling you, it's amazing. I mean, the whole video of the auto rack going from, like the video I saw, it showed it from going through Fort Edward, which is by me, up through Whitehall and into Vermont, and then they showed, at the end of it when it went to Massachusetts. Because, like I said, that train had to be rerouted because they were reworking the Hoosick Tunnel. Of course, now it's all repaired and the trains, go back and forth through there again. And there is an Amtrak train you can take out of Albany that actually goes through that tunnel. And from what I've heard, it's quite the trip. It's quite interesting because the Hoosick Tunnel is, I've been thinking about putting it on my thing for the fair. I was thinking about putting it, the entrance to a tunnel on my the farm toy show. I was thinking about putting it on my Lego train exhibit for the farm toy show. I was thinking about putting a tunnel entrance, but then I was like, no, I don't know if I'm really going to. But what's so interesting about the Hoosick Tunnel is when it was being built, they had so many things happened, and some of the things that happened, were not were not fun, because they said in New York State it's the most haunted train tunnel going from New York State into Massachusetts. And that's what I've heard from a lot of people.
Interesting.
Yep, there's that one, and then there's another video that I like that was taken out it was down towards Binghamton. There's the Canadian Pacific. Well, now it's Canadian Pacific, Kansas City Southern.
Did you see that the other day? That was a huge merger. That was a huge merger the other day.
Yeah, CPKCS. Yep.
Yep.
Well, there's a little place called Belden, New York. And right after the train goes through the crossing, it goes into the Belden Tunnel. And that tunnel is, from what I've heard, of course, my father's never been on that route because my dad worked for now when he worked for, of course, CPKCS was, used to be the Delaware and Hudson. That's what my father worked on. My father worked the main line that went from Rouse's Point to Menands. And then he worked the branch line going from Saratoga up to Taws, and then the branch line going from Fort Edward to Falls. He never worked on the route that went out to Binghamton and Oneonta and a little bit in Pennsylvania. He never worked on that one. But like I said, I'll try and remember to share some links to those videos, because I got to say something. If you're trying to figure out what you want to do for a railroad crossings and your train layout, these videos, I'm telling you, will give you some wonderful ideas. It'll help. It'll give you some really, really good ideas.
Yeah.
And it's a fun hobby. It's a relaxing hobby. And, you learn so much. It's like, when you're doing metal railroading, it's actually a lesson. You're actually learning something about the different types of trains. Like there's passenger trains, there's your mixed manifest, which is a mixed freight train. You have your auto racks, you have your grain trains, which are the covered hoppers. You have your scrap metal trains. You have your ethanol trains, which are the tanks with the fuel, obviously. And then you have your intermodals, which are the container cars, two different. You have hoppers, you have covered hoppers, you have open gondolas, you have tank cars, you have top C's, which are the trailers on flat cars. That's the one my father taught me. You have auto racks, you have the well cars. And then on the bigger freight trains that you see now, the only time you see caboose is if it's the local branch line runs. That's the only time you ever see a caboose is when it's on like the little branch, the branch line run.
Yeah.
Because nowadays, when you see the freight or the freight train goes through, the last thing you see on the freight train is called a FRED. And what that stands for is flashing rear end device.
Or also known as EOT.
Yep, EOTD, end of train device. That's correct. Of course, I'd say the nickname that my good friend who used to work for CSX calls it, but I'm not going to say it.
Well, and it's my understanding. It's my understanding that the cabooses went away because the main function of the caboose was to watch for hot boxes. And if people don't know what the hot box is, that's the little box on the end of the axle that has the bearing in it. And if a bearing gives up the ghost or doesn't have grease, it'll start a fire.
That's right. And that's why when you see these little things sticking out of the ground by the railroad tracks, those are called hot box detectors. It's just like, let me give you an example. This is what the Canadian Pacific one sounds like because I've heard it online. I will say Canadian Pacific main line, mile 37.9. 37 axle. No defect detected. Canadian main line. Canadian Pacific out. That's what that one sounds like. Then the CSX one goes, TSX defect detector, milepost 359.0. No defects. No defects. Total axle 570. End of transmission. That's what that one sounds like.
Yep. You seem to be cutting in and out just a little bit.
It's amazing.
Yeah. So I've got a bunch of trains here. Kind of wanted to show off what we've got so far. And I wanted to mention that when I got my first train, and people think of it differently. Some people will piece and part it out because they want to go a certain way. They want to go with a certain railroad. They want to start out that way. But for me, I really didn't know which way I wanted to go. And so the best way I think to do that, if you're thinking that way, is go with the starter set. The starter set is nice because it gives you a locomotive. It gives you a couple pieces of rolling stock, and it gives you either a oval loop or a circle run of track, and that's basic. And a power pack.
Yeah.
And a wall wart.
Yep. Well, listen, Chris. I don't mean to screw you off, but my father's calling. He's in the hospital. He's hopefully going to be coming home this weekend. He's doing a lot. The old railroader's doing a lot better. Guys,
alrighty.
Please keep my dad in your thoughts. So
Yeah.
We'll talk to you soon. Take care, guys.
Alrighty. Well, thanks for coming on, Kim, and we'll talk to you later. All right, folks. Yeah, and that was Kim. Her dad is in the hospital, so yeah, please do pray for him. Yeah, he is getting better, but it goes day by day is usually how I see it. And keep your prayers up if you're a prayer warrior. What I was about to go through is I was going to go through and show you the trains that I have. And what I was saying was, as far as some people, when they start out their collection, they want to go with a certain railroad. So some people maybe only want to do BNSF, or some people may want to step back in time and do maybe only Santa Fe, or they'll want to do CSX only. So then you can go out to the different manufacturers and you can get road names that way. The easiest way I did it, because I didn't know what I wanted to go with. So I thought I would save some money and I would go with a train set. And I went with the Bachmann, I think it was the Rail Chief or Rail King. And it was the Santa Fe. So with this, I got a locomotive. I think I ended up getting 3 cars, and I got a circle set of Bachmann Easy Track. The nice thing is they sell expander kits for the track, so you can go from a circle to an oval and put in some sidings and make it as intricate as you want. So with the lead power unit, I ended up getting this Bachmann GP40. It's standard. It's got a light on the leading end. It's got a light on the tail end. Standard DC. It's got good detail to it. I like it. I think the detail's good. You're going to have a couple of different camps. You're going to have people that are either a fan of Bachmann, or you're going to have people who don't like Bachmann. They like other brands. So with that, that's the one that I got. And then with Kim, who we were talking to, she actually sent me a couple of pieces that she had, because she was in between layouts. And what she sent me was a mid 1980s run of the Bachmann F unit, just a standard F unit Bachmann. The couplers are gone on this one because it took a fall off of my bench, but I can put couplers on that. So that's really good to have, a couple of different types. And for me, I really don't have a time frame on to which my locomotives are. Like, I don't just have trains from the 40s. I don't just have trains from the 50s. I have trains probably from, 1800s on up to current. I don't know if I have any, besides the P40, I really don't have any current ones. But then moving on, I believe, don't quote me on this, I think this one's a GP 38. This is the one that we got off of eBay, and this is the one that we had problems with. The seller advertised it as a runner. It got here. I was excited. I put it on my track. I put power to it, and it made the most god-awful squealing noise you could ever hear. And basically pulled the power off of it, took it off, and what the seller forgot to tell us was the motor was going. The bearings were going out, and it locked up solid. So it right now is a true dummy locomotive. I pulled all the running gears out of it. The power doesn't go into anything. It's a dummy loco, so I can hook it up behind and look like I have distributed power. So the next one that we have, and this one was another eBay find, but this one was good. This one is an Alco. I believe it's an Alco RS2. It's either RS2 or RS3. It's a switcher, so it only work in the yards or a branch line, depending on the distance. But this one is in the Minneapolis and St. Louis livery, and this one is weathered. The Minneapolis and St. Louis is a fallen flag, and for those who don't know, a fallen flag is a company that is no longer around. So that's 4 locomotives. I got one more. So those are all, I believe those are all Bachmann. Don't quote me on that. The next one that I have is a made by Kato. And I really like Kato. Kato is Japanese. In my mind, they have really great quality. I like it. And it is their Amtrak P42 set. So this one is in the newest livery that they have. And it came with a little accessories kit. I don't know if you can see it there, but I've got number placard in there, and then a headlight lens. And this thing cooks around the track. This thing is cool. So this came with the power unit, and this came with one bi-level car, and then this came with 2 sleeper cars. So, and these on my layout, they get a little long. She starts chasing her tail a little bit on that. And then the last one that I have is a steam locomotive. I want to get more of them. I really like this one. This one is a 060 steam locomotive. I got to grab it here because it's got an attached tender. So maybe if I grab it from the top here. So it's got the tender, and then my fingers are over the roof. But that's a 060, and that was a switcher as well. So that's what I have right now, and I do plan on getting a little bit more rolling stock. But that another thing I wanted to say is, like all hobbies, model railroading is cost prohibitive sometimes, and I am up against that right now. I lost my job about a month ago, almost 2 months ago. And yeah, so I've had to put a pause on buying a lot of new stuff. I do have some scenery coming in. Pardon me. So what I did recently is on my layout, the base is a piece of Durock cement board, and then on top of that, I have a 1-inch piece of the Pink Panther foam. Glued that together, and then I have a desert tan base painted on top of the Pink Panther foam because it is pink. Some guys like to dig their track into that. Some guys like to build topography on top of it, to build tunnels. And I know Woodland, I think it's Woodland Scenics, they have tunnel kits, they have elevation kits, so you can actually put in a bigger branch line that comes up and across. But basically what I'm doing right now with Furnace Valley is I am making a desert scene. So my paint is a desert tan, and yesterday I actually glued the track in place with some clear craft glue. And then the next thing I'm going to do next week is I'm going to put the ballasting in on either side of the Bachmann Easy Track. So what I use is called the Bachmann Easy Track, and that is roadbed and the rails and the sleeper all in one, plastic molded, ready to go. A lot of people like to get they've got, I know Pico has it, I know Kato has it, and they call it their Unitrack. Or actually, I don't think Pico has it. I think it's Kato, Bachmann, and maybe Athearn or Walthers. They all have a form of the Easy Track. What I was thinking was the Kato Unitrack or the Pico Unitrack, where it's brass track and it's got the sleepers on it and it's flexible. Before you lay that, you're actually going to want to glue down some cork roadbed, and then you glue your track down on top of that, and then you'll ballast the sides of that. With Bachmann Easy Track, let's see if I've got a little section here. I don't know if I do. And I don't. I was just digging in my drawer there to see if I had a little bit. But so with the Bachmann Easy Track, you have the roadbed and you have the rails all good to go on either side. So there is a way that you can ballast Bachmann Easy Track, and I'm going to try it that way and see if I like it. So basically what I'm using for ballast is a Kato product. It is product number 24-039, and it is a fine gray ballast. So basically what you would do here is you would put in, I have a little ballast spreader that I can put it in, and then you put glue on either side of the track, and then you run this spreader down the sides, and it pays it out on either side. And then you can lock it in with, you can lock it in with a 50-50 glue and isopropyl alcohol mix. I see we're coming up on time here. I could keep going a little bit more. I was kind of hoping Kim could have stayed with us for the whole hour. So basically what I'll do here, we've got 5 minutes. So I'll start wrapping up for tonight. And basically what we've got going on is tomorrow is Friday, and tomorrow we have episode 2 of the Days of the USS Nimitz. So last week was the first episode with Adrian, my co-host, and my dad Dan, and we talked about his experience living on an aircraft carrier for 2 years. Tomorrow we're going to talk to them about what it was like being a married couple and having him deployed for 2 years, deployed for 6 months at a time and then home at 3, and then also having me as a probably 4 to 5 year old while this was going on, and how my mom took care of it with a lot of help from family and a lot of help from the Navy as well. And we will probably have some numbers and stuff for people who are current duty, who may be listening, who need that help. We can get some numbers in there and help out. So I wanted to thank everybody for coming on today and listening. And just about 2 minutes here. So I'm going to go ahead and end the show here. Sorry if I ramble too much. We are going to have another show in about a month where we're going to be talking about model railroading again. We're going to have Kim back on for that. And then we're going to have another friend of mine come on and talk about it as well. And it'll probably be a little bit more of a structured talk. But till then, thank you for listening and have a great night.